Hey folks, this is Rhykker with the Diablo 4 Season 7 Ultimate Guide. If you got any questions about Season 7, what's the fastest way to level? What's the season theme? How do you maximize the effects of the season theme? This video should answer all your questions. Season 7, the Season of Witchcraft, is the biggest season theme yet in Diablo 4. It's also the most juiced. Progression is faster than ever. Legendaries raining from the sky. The fastest leveling times by the pro players is 3 hours to level 60. And we'll answer the first question right off the bat. You do not need to own the expansion Vessel of Hatred to play Season 7. If you're wondering what class to play this season, I got my class tier list video that I posted earlier this week that you can check out. And if you're just kind of newer to the game or newer to Vessel of Hatred and you need a beginner's course or need to bone up on D4 and its current state since it's changed so much since launch, I got my ultimate beginner's guide to Vessel of Hatred over here. So the first thing we'll cover in this video is fast leveling. What is the fastest way to level up in Season 7? The short answer is to do Whispers in the new seasonal Headhunt zones, aka the Witch Tides. But if you want to stop and smell the roses, play however you want to play. There's nothing wrong with that. We're just telling you what's the most efficient way to power through the game, because getting to Torment 1 difficulty is ultimately what you want to do as quickly as possible to maximize your efficiency, because at Torment 1, that is when all the best gear in the game can start to drop, not before. So Torment 4 just gives you better odds. Torment 4 is the highest difficulty, but you don't need to get to Torment 4. Torment 1 is where you want to be as soon as possible, because as soon as you're in Torment 1, all the best items are available to you. Now, the very first thing you'll want to do before making your character is benefit from a past character you may have. Now, new to Season 7, you no longer have to repeat the class quest line, assuming you've already completed it before. But you must first log into a character that has completed the quest line in order to benefit from that. So I'm making a Necromancer. I already made a Necromancer in the past who completed the Necromancer quest line. So I log into that Necromancer. On Eternal, I log out. Now I can make my seasonal Necromancer, and now I will not have to complete or repeat the seasonal quest line. You can choose to, but you don't have to do it to unlock your class power. Your class powers will now just unlock at the level that you would have gotten the class quest, which is 15 for most, 25, 30 in other cases. So first thing you want to do when you're making your character, you're going to want to skip campaign, if you're able to, in Season 7. So start with Vessel of Hatred campaign completed, or if you don't have Vessel of Hatred, start with original campaign completed. If you have not done the Vessel of Hatred campaign, then you'll have to play through at least the beginning. I think it's about 20 minutes, the prologue, before you get access to the seasonal quest, because the seasonal quest is going to be the fastest way to level. Make sure you're selecting a seasonal character. Sometimes people ask me, I'm new to Diablo 4, should I make a non-seasonal character first? In almost every case, I'm going to hang an asterisk. But in every case, asterisk, some unforeseen circumstance, it's always better to make a seasonal character as your first character. There's no downside to it, because once you're done the campaign, you can instantly jump into the seasonal content without having to then make a new character and start all over. Next, you got to pick a difficulty. Start on normal difficulty. Higher difficulty gives higher reward, yes, but it increases the time taken to defeat monsters, which makes it take longer to get your reward, which counterintuitively actually decreases your efficiency. Once you reach level 20 or so, or beyond, that's when you can up the difficulty to hard, if you feel comfortable in doing so, if you feel that you're defeating monsters very rapidly. Once you're in-game, first thing you want to do, bring up your inventory, click on your wardrobe, new menu here, you want to equip a pet. Pets will go around picking up materials on the ground for you. This increases your efficiency. If you don't have your pet unlocked, then you're going to want to go to Kiovashad. You want to go to Kiovashad anyway. So step 2 is go to Kiovashad. Once in Kiovashad, there ought to be a little puppy around here somewhere to talk to unlock your first pet, if you haven't done so already. The next thing you want to do in Kiovashad is head over to the world difficulty statue over here. Talk to this guy to activate this quest. Now, the importance of this quest, which is super easy to complete, you just go over here and you cheer at the guards. Bring up your emote menu. I press E for that. You might have a different button. Press cheer, and the quest is done. You come back here and you turn in order to get a little cash that's going to give us herbs. With those herbs, we can start to craft our first elixirs at the Alchemist. Now, you won't be able to craft those elixirs right away, but it's just a little busy work to get those herbs ahead of time for when you can begin crafting the elixirs. That's going to be at level 10. Now, elixirs, it doesn't matter which elixir. Elixirs are going to give you an XP buff. As much as possible, when available, you want to always be under the effect of an elixir to maximize your XP gains. After you've completed this quest, one thing you'll want to do, if you have played the game before, is bring up your renown and just quickly claim all of your extra little renown rewards. It's just going to give you a little bit of bonus XP and gold, and we might even level up from that. Just about, nearly. Next thing you'll want to do, if you have Vessel of Hatred, is go grab your mercenary in the mercenary den right over here. If you're playing solo, you'll want to grab 2 mercenaries, your primary and your reinforcement. If you're playing in a party, just go ahead and grab a reinforcement mercenary. As you are playing, your mercenaries are going to naturally level up their rapport. And that's why it's actually important while you are going through your leveling process to swap out your mercenaries regularly. Once you reach a point where a mercenary is fully leveled up here, you're going to want to swap that mercenary out for a different one. You might wonder, why is that? You do get a repeating forever reward on mercenaries that are fully leveled up, but it comes down to this system here, bartering. Bartering only becomes available at level 15, but every mercenary unlocks additional bartering options. As we can see here with Subo, we get boss summoning bartering options available. You're going to get bartering currency just by playing the game, leveling up your mercenaries, so it's just a little extra free currency to spend in the mercenary den. Once all your mercenaries are maxed out, that's when you're going to just stick with the mercenaries that you'll want for your build. Now you're ready to begin the seasonal quest line. So you're going to head back to Kiskaloo, and it is going to be interacting with the NPC right there, and from there just follow the quest line. The quest line is going to make you go into what are called Headhunt zones, aka Witch Tides, aka Green Hell Tides, that are spread throughout the map over here, and complete a bunch of whispers. And this is what you're going to do all the way to level 60. What about Stronghold leveling? Not worth it this season. The XP you get from completing these efficiently is competitive, if not better than Strongholds, and also you are furthering something that is important to your character's power and progression within the season by doing these seasonal quests. Now, one important note, once you reach around level 50, from level 50 to 60, items start to scale tremendously. So first off, item drops are going to be ridiculous in these headhunt zones. You're going to be getting tons of loot. This is the biggest loot season ever. But maybe you're holding on to a weapon since level 45. You want to be replacing your gears. From level 50 to 60, gear ramps up tremendously faster than at lower levels. So an upgrade going from level, let's say a 50 item to a 53 item will be a much bigger jump than a 45 item to a 49 item. All right, now let's talk about headhunts, because you're going to be spending a lot of time doing headhunts. At any given time, there are, I believe, 4 headhunt zones. Yes, 1, 2, 3, and 4. These cycle and rotate throughout. These do not coincide with Helltide. They are separate from Helltide, and honestly, you're probably not going to do much or any Helltide this season. So a headhunt is a takeover zone, and what it is it's going to give you special whispers to do, because this entire season is about completing whispers for the Tree of Whispers. The Tree of Whispers zone has an entire new town layout to it. It is a much better zone overall. You have a lot of important NPCs to interact with here. But as for the headhunts themselves, the key to doing these effectively is to actually be completing whispers. Don't just be running around randomly not paying attention to things. I mean, you could, it's fine, but to maximize your efficiency, you need to actually be completing the whispers. So start by taking a look at the headhunt zones, and you'll notice that some of them are more compact than others. Some are really large and sprawling, others are more compact. In general, the more compact ones are more efficient because there's a higher density of monsters together and a higher density of whispers overlapping with each other, so that while you're completing one whisper, you're incidentally completing one or multiple other whispers as well. That is less likely to happen in big sprawling zones. Now, one caveat here is Nahantu seems to have ridiculously high monster density in general. These might be particularly juiced, but as a general rule, the smaller zones tend to be more efficient. Second thing to consider is you don't want to go in and do all the whispers. Not all whispers are created equal. So what you'll want to do is familiarize yourself with the different whisper icons and which you want to go for and which you want to avoid. So you'll see repeats. They always have the same ones. Every zone is going to have, first off, the fugitive. Every zone has one Fugitive Whisper. That's one that you want to do. We'll get back to it in a minute though. Shepherd, very easy one. Shepherd is your guiding animals to safety. So you're going to see a tree. The icon is the location of the tree. And in the area around the tree, you'll find circles with a little cute animal in it. And you walk over the animal and you're going to guide it, killing the monsters around it towards the tree. You got to do that to 4 different animals around there. Easy peasy, 3 Grim Favors. So one good strategy is once you get into the Whisper Zone, make your way towards the tree. While you're going along the way, kill monsters. Because some of these whispers, you just need to kill some amount of monsters, and once you've killed 150 or some odd number of monsters, you then have a step to turn in at an altar in order to complete the whisper. So you are incidentally completing another whisper while you are going towards the Shepherd Whisper. Similarly, Fugitive, this is something that you're going to be spawning a husk. Now, husks can spawn when you complete whispers. So you need to complete other whispers, or other people in the zone need to complete whispers for you in order to spawn. It's the equivalent of the Blood Maiden from Helltide, if you're familiar with that. There's going to be roots on the ground that you interact with that are going to spawn monsters. And there's a chance of spawning a headless husk or a husk with a head. This will give you 5 Grim Favors. That's half the Grim Favors you need to turn in a whisper. Now there's an easy trap to fall into, and that's just staying in the zone, and similar to what we did in Blood Tide and now Helltide, is just doing the Blood Maiden over and over and over, thinking, well, it's good loot drops, it's good XP. It's a trap at low levels. Do your 1 per zone and move on, because you don't continue to get Whisper rewards for doing the fight multiple times. And it's a long fight. It has a lot of life, not as much as the Blood Maiden, but still it's quite up there. This is also why we're starting off on normal, to reduce the amount of time it takes to complete this fight. So Purge the Rot here, the little pustule, that's the one that you're going to complete incidentally as you're going through the zone. If we look at Slay here, any of the ones that are like 1 Grim Favor, generally not worth doing, at least definitely not worth going out of your way for. If you happen to do it incidentally, cool, don't go out of your way for it. Entangled Villagers, also not worth it. Wisp, definitely not worth it. Even though it's 3 Grim Favors, it takes too long to complete. Now, Harvest, this is another one that you're going to probably complete incidentally while you're going around and doing things. Scour. Okay, if you're in a party, do not do Scour. Scour seems easy. You just go around the zone and you pick up herbs. You need herbs anyway, right? Because you want to be crafting elixirs. So the neat thing about the Scour Whisper is that you're going to have the herbs on the map highlighted for you without even having the Subo Mercenary. That's great, right? Well, if you're in a party, if someone clicks on an herb, it makes the herbs drop for everyone in the party, but it only counts towards the whisper completion of the person who clicked on the herb. So this is a very party unfriendly whisper. Don't do it if you're in a party. If you're not in a party, you could go out of your way to do it. It's 3 Grim Favors and not too challenging. Now, Patrol. Patrol's a little tough. Patrol could be good to do, but it could also be a time waste. In general, in a smaller zone, Patrol tends to be worth it. In a bigger zone, not so much. Why? Now, the Patrol doesn't show you exactly where the guard is. Somewhere in the area of this icon, you're going to see a guard, and it'll be marked on the map by another little icon similar to this one. You gotta follow and escort the guard, and as he's walking, there'll be monsters he'll run into, and you gotta kill monsters within his area. In a big zone, again, it's gonna take too long. Smaller zones could be worth it, especially if they coincide with other whispers. So quick recap here. Shepherd, Fugitive, Purge the Rot, Harvest, maybe Patrol if it coincides. Now, you'll sometimes run into silent chests in these zones. Silent chests have been juiced this season. They are worth doing. So it is worth spending obols at the Obol Gambler to get whispering keys to open these chests, because not only do they have good loot drops now, but they can also drop keys to open Rootholds, which are amazing. A bit more on those soon. Now, once you have completed 10 whispers, instead of porting back to the Tree of Whispers, what you can do now is actually turn in at a Raven. Every whisper zone has added a Raven. The Raven doesn't spawn on you, it's in a fixed spot, but you can just move over there to turn in instead of going all the way back to the Tree of Whispers. This is the Raven of the Tree. So wherever you happen to be, you can stay in the zone. If you're in a party, you're still getting drops, you're still getting XP. You just run over there, turn in for the Whisper reward as opposed to leaving the zone and then missing out on XP and completion and everything. This icon over here, this is the Patrolling Guard, by the way. Now, sometimes, probably just at a higher level, you're going to run into an Ancestral cache as a Whisper reward. Those are generally the best caches you can get. You are guaranteed at least one Ancestral item, so keep an eye out for those, grab them when you see them. Once you've completed the good Whispers in one of these zones, move on to another zone. Now again, the seasonal storyline is going to have you do a ton of Whispers. And you're going to see on the right here, you're going to have to collect more Grim Favors, and then a new quest to collect even more Grim Favors, and then a new quest to collect even more Grim Favors. And this continues even once you are done the seasonal quest line, which is 9 out of 9, as you continue to just go along on your Coven's Favor track. This is the reputation track for the season. Don't worry, you don't actually have to do this many Grim Favors. As you go up in difficulty, there's a multiplier that happens on the number of Grim Favors, so doing T1, T2, T3, Torment 4 Grim Favors are going to be giving a lot more completion here. Alright, now let's talk about the Witch powers. This is the seasonal power, so you're going to be unlocking them as you are progressing through the story. You're going to acquire them over here in the Tree of Whispers town. There are 3 altars. This creates some confusion. All 3 altars right now do the same thing. So it doesn't matter which you interact with, they all have the same inventory. This is a holdover from PTR on the test server. Each of these altars served you a different selection of witchcraft powers. Apparently that was confusing for people. So now each of them does the same thing, so it doesn't matter which you click. You're going to see witch powers available for sale for 25 of the currency, which is called Restless Rot. You acquire Restless Rot by killing Headrotten. Those are the new enemies. You find Headrotten where? In Headhunt zones. Not all enemies in Headhunt zones are Headrotten, but that's where you find a lot of them. And the other source of Restless Rot and Headrotten is going to be in Rootholds. More on those in a bit. So these witch powers, more will become available to you as you progress your storyline, as you go through your seasonal track. If you're following a guide and it's telling you to take a certain witch power and you're looking here and you don't see it and you're wondering why, you can just mouse over these and they're going to tell you, purchase from the altar, purchase from the altar. A lot of these unlock as you go later on, so you have to wait to unlock them once you're done the story. So if you're at 9 out of 9 and you still don't see a power, well, something is either wrong, or some of these powers, you'll notice, if you mouse over, unlocked by finding a forgotten altar. So there's a few of these, I believe 4 specifically, 1, 2, 3, and 4, including Pyrenedo, that you cannot get deterministically. You need to find them, and we'll explain how in a moment. So your basic powers, though, again, they all cost 25, apart from the unique powers, which cost 100. These are cheap to purchase, expensive to upgrade. At low level, the best ones are going to be the ones that give you flat damage. You can almost let the witch powers play for you and have no skills equipped. The flat damage is going to do a lot of damage. So Doom Orb, definitely want to grab your Doom Orb. It does a lot of flat damage. That's 100. Otherwise, you want to be looking for ones, again, that are giving flat damage. So some of the good ones at low level is Firebat Servants, Aura of Siphoning again, very strong. And rather than upgrade these, it's best to save up your Restless Rot because they scale up. The cost scales up to level so much. Always leave yourself enough Restless Rot to purchase the powers that you'll want to get. Once you have all the powers that you want for your build, or, maybe if you're not following a build guide and you just want to play around with all the powers, maybe purchase them all first, test them out. Once you're settled into your selection, then you can start leveling them. And my recommendation on in what order to level them would be, you can see that each of them has just a base effect that you get by ranking up, but then once you reach rank 5 or rank 10, rank 7, they each have an additional effect that unlocks. So whatever your selection is, go and look. Okay, which one has the most valuable rank up power? And then level that one up until you hit that rank up power. And then do the same for the next priority. In the same way that you prioritize the order of leveling up your Paragon glyphs to 15. You figure out which is the one that gives me the best 15 unlock, and then you focus on that one, as opposed to leveling them all up gradually. So again now, how do we get Pyreneado, which is probably going to be the best unique power. How do you get Pyreneado? How do you get Ore of Specialization, Hex Specialization, and Breath of the Coven? It says unlock by finding a forgotten altar in one of the many dungeons around Sanctuary. So, what is a dungeon? A pit level is a dungeon. A dungeon's a dungeon. A nightmare dungeon is a dungeon. And a Roothold is a dungeon. More on those very soon, I promise. So I think you can only start finding these in Torment 1. In Torment 1, every dungeon gives you a 1% chance to find one of these altars. When you find one, you're going to see it as an icon in the map, and then you're going to see the altar. It'll look something like this, not quite one of these, but something like that. You click it, and you're going to randomly get one of your missing witchcrafts. By the way, folks, you can always just bring up your witchcraft menu directly from your inventory. And you can level them up directly from in here by just mousing over and pressing F. You don't have to come over here to interact with the menu, only to purchase new witchcrafts. But once you have the ones that you want, you never have to come back here. Again, whenever you click a Forgotten Altar, you'll get one of your missing ones. If you're no longer missing any of these forgotten powers, it's going to level up a forgotten power that you have at random. So again, 1% chance in Torment 1 to find one of these altars in a dungeon. By Torment 4, that goes up to a 5% chance, meaning on average 1 in every 20 runs. But there's something you can do to increase your odds. Drought of Whispers doubles the chances of encountering a forgotten altar in Sanctuary's many dungeons. This effect lasts for 1 hour. This can be used alongside other elixirs. So again, you always have your XP elixir running, and then you can additionally have one of these running, which you'll want to do when you are hunting either for the Forgotten Altars or the Fugitive Heads, which we'll get to soon. But first, let's finally talk about the Rootholds, folks. Rootholds are new special dungeons that are super juiced, as in super rewarding. Really fun, arguably the best part of the season. You can only access Rootholds by finding keys. So like here, the Silent Roothold Whispering Wood. This is just like Infernal Hordes or Nightmare Dungeons, but you cannot craft these. So they're like Infernal Hordes in that you can only get them as drops. Where do you get them? Well, by doing whispers. Also Whispering Caches, those Whispering Chests, right? Those silent chests that you spend your keys on. Those also have a good chance of dropping these Roothold keys. So you're gonna open up the key, open up your map, it'll take you straight to the Roothold, you teleport in, and these are a little similar to the Infernal Hordes mini dungeons in that you're going to get to pick rewards and difficulty scalars. So the first thing that happens is that you come upon 4 selections. You can pick 2 of these, and you ought to. These will offer a Bane, Flames Rain Upon You, evading calls forth flames. So whenever I'm going to evade, you know, when you press your space to dodge, it's going to call forth flames, but it gives a major reward. That's actually really good. This gives you a minor reward, this gives you 1 exposed root, and this gives you 1 exposed root. So you always definitely want to take the major rewards. You can take 2 of these, you don't have to, but it is recommended. And there's some debate between whether you want minor reward or +1 exposed root. It's really opening the roots that are going to give a ton of drops. So we're gonna, in this case, take another exposed root. Now, it opens the door, we proceed, and these are just filled with head rotten. So they're a good source of restless rot, but technically, these are also just a really good source of ancestral items. You don't really need to actually kill anything, you just want to go click on those exposed roots. It does take a while for the drops to come out, so you can kind of kill monsters while waiting on the drops. But you proceed along, again, click those exposed roots. You're also going to get manuals to drop from those, your crafting manuals. And there's actually new kinds of crafting manuals that you don't want to ignore this season. There's a lot of loot that drops, and sometimes manuals are going to be either blue or sometimes I think even possibly white. So try to pay attention as you're going along there. Now again, technically, if you're just fishing for items, you don't have to kill the monsters. It's really the biggest rewarding things are going to be these exposed roots. But again, good source of restless rot to kill the monsters. But you see, I just got an ancestral right there. And these Rootholds are going to be the best source of getting ancestrals this season. That's why I would really, if you do have keys to the Rootholds, I would hold off, wait to be at least in Torment 1 to start doing them. Now you come to your second and final choice. Again, you can take 2 out of the 3. So major reward, you always want to take that. Want to increase your rewards. It does increase the, the difficulty, but you want to do it. Here we only have a choice between minor rewards, so increase evade cooldown or increase evade cooldown. Well, there's not really a choice there. You keep going, and then beyond here, you're going to open up into a much wider area with a lot more things to kill. And then ultimately, you're going to come onto a boss fight. But again, you want to be clicking all those exposed roots, get all of those juicy drops, just insane amounts of loot. Again, we got another ancestral right there. You could just beeline it to the boss if you want. Otherwise, again, it's a good source of restless rot. But definitely at least explore around, because there's going to be more exposed roots in here. Or a ton more. You also get your Draughts of Whispers from these. Another exposed root over here. Another one over here. Circle back for the loot at the end. One thing you can always do is just run through. Don't pick up anything and then just pick up all the loot at the end. But kind of depends on how fast your build is. We even got a goblin to spawn there. Look at that. More ancestrals dropping. More ancestrals dropping. At this point, see, I have so many items have dropped, I can't even pick up anything anymore. This is all in one dungeon run here. So if you really want to, you can go back, pick up everything. Otherwise, again, the amount of loot that drops this season, you're going to wish for a loot filter. I mean, it's real first world problems to have. Oh man, too much loot's dropping. But zone is done here, so we're going to go and face the boss now, who's going to drop even more loot. Now, it used to be that Infernal Hordes is what you wanted to do for getting your ancestrals. It's all about the Rootholds now, baby. So we go here and we finally end up at a final exposed root. And here we're going to fight either a husk or a head rotten. We got a chance of getting a head, and he is headless. So these guys, the headless husks, small chance for these guys to spawn with the head. You're going to want those heads, and we're going to talk about those very soon. But as you can see, a whole lot more stuff. Get these recipes for sure. So I hope this demonstration has sold you on the utility of doing these Rootholds. And again, saving them for T1, because you cannot get ancestrals to drop before T1. Okay, now let's talk about those heads, because this ties into the final mechanic of the season. We're going to come back to our Tree of Whispers here, the Occult Gems. These are very late game systems. Now you're going to start getting recipes over time to craft these Occult Gems, which you do at Galena the Coven Jeweler over here in your Occult Library. So, Volume 1, The Dreaming Occult. There are different tiers of these gems, and they go all the way up to Legendary. Elder Sigils, or you have your blue Occult Gems, your yellows. These can only be socketed into your jewelry. And they are, basically by default, just better than anything else you're going to put in there. As you can see, straight off the bat, plus 160 armor and 8% all resist, even on the blue ones. So, any of these are going to be better than what gems exist previously. Don't just craft these willy-nilly. These are very expensive. It's rare to get those heads, and it costs a lot of restless rot. And then the higher level ones require lower tier gems. So to maximize your ability to get the higher tier occult gems that you want, you're going to want to find the recipe and only craft the lower tier ones that are going to path you towards those. Your biggest stopgap here, though, again, to crafting these is getting those fugitive heads. A headless husk, right? One of those husk monsters has a chance to spawn with the head and not be a headless husk. In T1, I believe it's a 4% chance, and that increases to a 10% chance by Torment 4. But again, your Drought of Whispers is going to increase that 50% buff, so that means that 10% becomes a 15%, or the 4% becomes a 6%. Not huge, but you're going to still want to do it. And overall, this season is a balance between fast early progression and long-term late-game progression, long-tail progression. It's going to take very long to get all these occult gems. They're not necessary by any means. They're just turbo buffs to your builds. And similarly with, again, your witchcraft powers, they are very easy to unlock, very cheap, but to maximize them, it's going to take quite a while. Now, here's the good news about these witchcraft powers. They are account-wide. When you make a second character, all of these are shared. So, what does that mean? On my main, I level up my powers, I unlock them all. On my alt, I have a level 1 character rocking devastating witchcraft powers. That's going to make leveling alts even faster than the 3 hours. Now, I'll quickly mention season blessings. So, Urn of Aggression, getting XP, always useful, of course. However, I would probably stick to this just until you reach level 60, if you even have it, to leveling up to level 60. Otherwise, At some point, you're really going to want that Urn of Rot. You're going to find yourself wanting more Restless Rot to level up your stuff. If you have the gold to spare to swap around your Smoldering Ashes right before you gamble at the Purveyor of Curiosities, just, buff your Urn of Curiosities. Right before you do a turn-in at the Whispers, you can blast the Urn of Whispers. If you're about to open a reward cache in a Infernal Hordes to get those Masterworking mats, blast your Urn of Masterworking. It's pretty cheap to reallocate these. So to conclude here, just a final overview of what are you going to be doing this season. First off, Pit is going to be something you're going to do to level up your glyphs, right? There's no way around it. The only way to level up your glyphs is doing the Pit. So you're going to be doing Pit runs for that. Otherwise, Rootholds are going to be the giga-juiced, most effective activity at getting drops, at getting your Restless Rot, which you're going to need in a great abundance to empower all of your stuff. But you're gated behind how many Rootholds you can do. Similarly, Infernal Hordes compasses, you're still going to need Masterworking materials to level up, masterwork your gear. So you're going to do your Infernal Hordes compasses when you find those. You can't craft those either. Once you don't have any of those, well, then you're going to do Whispers in the Witch Tides, the Headhunt zones, because that'll be where you're getting your Whisper caches, which will be where you're going to get your extra keys to do more Rootholds and more Infernal Hordes. And that wraps up this video, folks. If you have any other questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. If you have any suggestions or tips that you have learned yourself, drop them in the comments as well. And if you have more general questions about Diablo 4, be sure to check out the Vessel of Hatred beginner guide that I made, which is a big update because the game has changed dramatically since my first beginner guide for the game at D4's launch. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to my supporters for making these videos possible. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to join Rhykker's Raiders for more Diablo content.